lead us in flag salute tonight. So have a stand up first. Yeah.
Okay. The Pledge of Allegiance, right? Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Delilah. There was just one change in the agenda, and that's the last item, and we'll deal with that at the end of the meeting. So we'll move forward to Dr. Eaton and your report.
Okay.
Well, good evening, everybody. It's so nice to have such a great turnout tonight. And as I do at every board meeting, I try to highlight some of the things that have taken place since the last time that we've met. And so, sorry being in here, I'm adjusting to looking at a new place. So I appreciate y'all giving me just a second. So back on September 12th, the Rotary Club, and specifically Olga Vidrialis, past President Olga, hosted a girls empowerment event at Edna Hill. And it was just a really wonderful event, and I really want to thank them for putting it on, and it's something that they're interested in putting on at other, look at that. I'm trying to do some motion with my slides this time too. Yes, hopefully nobody gets motion sickness. I want to thank Sheriff Jessica Ignat, who's come out to Marsh Creek and a few of our other sites to deliver a Kindness is Superpower presentation. Here she is delivering it to some of the students at Marsh Creek. We really appreciate her doing that. I had a great time a couple weeks before break attending Harvest Grove's celebration of fall that they held with so many kids out. There was great projects and all kinds of fun things that took place. I got to husk corn. I hadn't done that in a while, so that was fun. Also, lots of parent activities and fall fun taking place around the district. So this was Craze Carnival that took place. A lot of work went into that by their parent-teacher organization, made for hundreds and hundreds of families, give them an opportunity to come out and enjoy each other and get to know each other a little better. I want to thank the parents group at Pioneer who put on a great multicultural celebration on a Saturday and had a huge turnout. So really great job to them, and fun event. I want to congratulate Heritage High senior Carolyn Jin, who's earning her Eagle Scout, and she's a former Marsh Creek Hawk, and so she put on an emergency preparedness fair at Marsh Creek as part of her Eagle Scout project. So great job to her, and congratulations on that great honor. I want to thank our friends at Contra Costa Fire Protection T92 and all of the families who came together to host a great event out at Mary Casey Black and their family fun night. So thank you for being a part of that. This is a really special bench that was, the work was done and put in place by Gabby Rochelot, who's a former student at Edna Hill. And it was done in honor of Brian Douglas, who was an aide that passed away there last year. You might remember. So it sits out in the 6th grade wing now, which is where Brian worked. And so I want to thank Gabby for doing such a sweet tribute. This is, it's rush time for the clubs at Bristow. So they have 13 student clubs that students can join. And so they're trying out there to get kids connected in different ways to the school. So congratulations to them, and looks like lots of great offerings. I want to congratulate our special educators of the month for September. So Julie France, Nicole Pierce, Stacy Fritzberg, and Alexandria Rochelot were all nominated by their peers and then selected. So congratulations to them. I had a great time attending the Mary Casey Black Hispanic Heritage Month program. And I think the highlight of it was Uriel, who, Uriel. Uriel, you can see them in the top picture up here. There it is, showing my little thing. He's singing in front of these mariachis, and he got up there in front of his classmates and sung in front of the mariachi band. So great tribute. I wanted to point this out. This is Susan Wallace. Susan Wallace is a former parent of us and actually a board member at Liberty. But Susan's students have long since left the district, but even so, she's been volunteering every week to come and water all the potted plants at Brentwood Elementary for years and years. And so they asked her what would make it easier, and they were able to get her this bucket to go out and do it. So she was really excited, but I appreciate her continuous dedication to supporting the potted plant life at Brentwood Elementary. Oh, my computer did something weird. And then this is, I want to thank our GATE families who came out for the GATE Poetry Night that took place on September 25th. So students were able to read both poems that they had written and ones that connected with them, and had the opportunity to present in front of other people. So great opportunity for them. Saw some TK students out practicing their motor skills out there. Those TK teachers are doing a great job getting kids moving and recognizing the improvement that it has for cognitive functioning as well. So great job to them. Here's the Edna Hill Middle School Latinos Unidos Club prepping for Dia de los Muertos during their lunchtime. So club putting together some great decorations out there. And then this was a wonderful event to attend last Friday night, and it was the Boo Fest, and thanks to Mary Casey Black for hosting it. And I want to really acknowledge our special education leadership and office department secretaries for being out there and organizing a night. I think there were over 100 people that came through the door to enjoy games, and they were dressed up and they got to take pictures, and it was really, really a fun event. And so thank you to them for putting on such a special family event. I also want to thank all the volunteers out at the Beyer Nail House who work so hard to preserve Brentwood history and give our third graders the opportunity to go back and experience life of what it looked like in the 1800s and connect to some of their families that were here years and years and decades ago at the Eden Plains Schoolhouse. So you can see students get to visit and learn as if they were in a classroom at that time. They do sack races and they make ice cream and do all kinds of stuff. So lots of fun, and it takes a lot of volunteers to keep that going. And then these are 4 Edna Hill students. So these are Maya, Phoenix, Sean, and Avery, who each received special certificates. So one of the things that we're doing this year is we're honoring our students who had perfect state testing scores. So these are 4 of 54 students in our district who earned perfect state testing scores. And so I wanted to celebrate them, and I want to thank the Curriculum and Instruction Department and Michael Bowen for kicking that off and celebrating kids. This is the Marsh Creek Oktoberfest, another festival. I mostly picked this picture because I like any picture where a thing of cotton candy is bigger than your head. That's how I like my cotton candy. And so it looks like lots of fun, great opportunity there. This is a new dance club that's out at Adams Middle School. And so I want to congratulate them. This is the Bangra Dance Group. And so they're getting started out there, and hopefully we'll get to hear or see a performance from them in the near future. I want to congratulate Mark Morello and the Bristow Middle School Choir, who they sung the national anthem at the not this past game, but the game before for the Golden State Warriors, and they haven't lost since. So we're hope that they'll be invited back. I was in Mr. Flores's class earlier this week and saw this great lesson on how sunlight impacts hemispheres depending on where the Earth is and position and rotation. And I caught this neat picture of it and just want to show it and compliment Mr. Flores for trying to make learning real and fun for kids and giving them visuals. And that is my presentation tonight, Board.
Thank you, Dr. Eden. The next is board member. Any board member want to report? If not, then we'll move to public comment. Is there anyone who would like to make a public comment who doesn't have a card here?
Move that we open public comment.
I'll second.
So moved and seconded, we open public comment, and one of our favorite people, Lil Paris, is going to address us first. Lil, please. Still my favorite.
Emil. Yeah, have to take a vote to open.
Are we going to have a dissenting vote here for Lil? No. All those in favor of opening public comment? Aye. It's been moved and seconded and voted 5-0 aye. Thank you.
How about now? Ooh. I'm Lil Pierce. I'm the secretary of the Brentwood Regional Community Chest, and I want to thank the Brentwood School District, the board, Dana, all the past superintendents, going back to Bill Bristow, for supporting our efforts to provide food and gifts to up to 500 families in Brentwood, Byron, Knightson, and Discovery Bay. We've been doing this for probably 50 or 60 years. I want to thank Guy for letting us destroy his school once a year. And last year we served about 425 families. We have registration dates coming up. I gave each board member a flyer that has those registration dates. They're all at the senior center here in Brentwood on Griffith and Balfour. So if you know any families who need help at Christmas, let us know. We also, of that 425, I think 95 of them were part of the Brentwood Strong's Adopt a Senior program that only wanted food to go along with their gifts that they give them. Am I forgetting anything, Dana? Brentwood School District has always been one of the biggest donators to our program of food and toys. Each year, everyone gets a big box of food. They get an entire turkey dinner to cook for themselves, and each child in the house under 18 and under gets a gift. I think that's about it. If you have any questions, please call me. Or if you want a brochure, I can hand you one on my way out. Thank you.
Thank you, Lil. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? If not, is hers.
Got a hand up in the back.
Okay.
Good evening. I have two students with IEPs that went through this school system and are now at Heritage, and they received phenomenal supports going through BUSD. I couldn't be more thankful for the progress that they made and how well they're doing in high school because of all of the supports that the school district gave them and the wonderful teachers that they had. It's very upsetting to me to hear that the Department of IDEA has been gutted down to one person, and that person cannot possibly crunch all the data from all the school districts around the country, and then that one person cannot possibly disperse all the funds that we need to educate the most vulnerable children in our school district. As a result, I did speak with our federal representative, Mark Dosanier. He sits on the Committee for Education, and I asked him, what is the plan? And he said, we can open a file for you. And I thought, no, that's not right. That's not what I'm asking. I'm not asking for me. I'm asking for all the children that are starting school now in kindergarten and are going to need these supports, and all the kids that are in school now behind my kids who are going to need those supports to successfully finish their senior year. My ask is that all the school board members please contact Mark Dosanier and let him know that the money runs out December 2026. For IDEA, if those funds are not clawed back, we will not have the money to pay for therapists, aides, the material that the teachers need in the special education department, maybe not even the teachers in special education. I'm pretty sure that not everybody, as I speak, has a plan B for their students. I know I don't. So I would ask everybody if you could please call Mark Desanier's office. His phone number in Antioch is 925-754-0716. And just ask him, what is Plan B in case we can't get that money back by December 2026 from the federal government? We also need to call Tony Thurman. He's our superintendent of schools. So if federally we don't have a Plan B, then he needs a Plan B for the state of California. We cannot allow all of these students to fall through the cracks. It's an enormous amount of students, and they deserve to be educated just like everyone else. Thank you.
Thank you. Was there anyone else? If not, then I'll
Move that we close public comment?
I'll second it.
moved and seconded. We close public comment. Those in favor?
Aye.
That passes 5-0. 8 is our consent items. We have 15 consent items. Did you want to?
Yes, board, in your consent items, under the personnel report, which is 8.1, we have a recommendation to hire a new vice principal, and her name is Lisa Bustillos, and she's here tonight. And before we make that decision formally, I'd like to give Lauren Griggs the opportunity to introduce her real quick.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to introduce Lisa Bustillos. I think that what makes Lisa exceptional and absolutely fit for the job is that she has an unparalleled dedication for teachers and students within our district, and she has a very long track record of working hard to make sure that our students and our teachers and our district has what they need. She has jumped right into the job. She has really big shoes to fill, but she's right there every second of the day, and she's working hard, and she's in there with the kids, all of the kids, even the challenging families, and she is just, it's been an excellent, excellent 8 days, and I'm so proud to introduce Lisa Bustillos as our next vice principal.
So now we vote, and then if it goes well, then we'll come back and we'll let you introduce yourself and your family.
Before I have a motion, I want to note too the completion of a number of items that are on this. So this is our bond monies working for us, and during the 2-week break, there was a lot of work done in a number of the schools, and so that time was very important to get those things done. But I would take a motion for the approval.
So I'll make a motion that we approve consent items 8.0 to 8.14.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve the consent items. Those in favor?
Aye.
Passes 5-0.
Got a job, Lisa.
Lisa, you brought some people with you tonight. Do you want to introduce them?
Yes, please. So first I want to introduce my mom and my dad, Linda and Harold Bro. He said hi. My brother and his wife, Troy and Grace Rowe. My nieces, Delilah, Maylani, and Destiny, and then my boyfriend, Mark.
Lisa, we're very excited to have you join us. I know it's awkward to have a vote when we've already gotten 8 days of work out of you, but we're excited to have you in this position, and congratulations. And you guys are, as I told Lisa before, you're all welcome to stay for the meeting, but also if you do have really good seats, and so know if you go, people are going to be jealous that they don't have your seats. But you're also welcome to go if you don't want to stay for the whole meeting. So we really appreciate you coming and celebrating her.
Nice meeting you all.
Thank you all, yes. Thank you,
Congratulations,
Delilah,
Lisa.
for leading the flag salute. Thank you. We have hearings, the opening and close of the meeting October 22nd of this year. Public hearing for California School Employees Association, Chapter 895, Sunshine.
Yeah, so board, you'll see these, and Mrs. Wells, do you want to talk about them now or when they come up later on? Okay, when they come up for action. So these are required hearings that you vote to open and then you vote to close if nobody has anything to say on them. We'll do those two, and then you'll see these agenda items later on in the meeting.
Do I have a motion?
Move that we open 9.0, the public hearing for CSEA Chapter 895, initial proposal Sunshine.
Would anyone like to address? If there are no addresses, I'll entertain a motion to close. Well, we'll do the second part of the hearing too. We have 9.1.
So they do, you would close.
Then we'll go ahead and close. Need a motion to close this part of the hearing.
I move we close.
Then moved and second, we close the hearing, item 9.0. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Approved 9-5-0. Now we'll do 9.1.
Move that we open 9.1, the public hearing for the Brentwood Union School District's initial proposal Sunshine for the reopener contract.
Anyone to address that? If we have no comments, then I'll take a motion to close.
Motion to close 9.1.
It's been moved and second, we close the hearing, 9.1. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Been approved 5-0. We have nothing to report out of closed session. So we move to item 10.1, the expulsion of student 09-2025-03. Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the expulsion of student 09-2025-03.
I second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the expulsion of student 10.1. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. We have a budget item update, which is an information. Yes, Diane?
Thank you. Good evening, Board. We have a October budget update tonight. So what we're going to be reviewing is a detailed review of the 24-25 unaudited actuals on the revenues in more details. And then we're going to look at the updated district enrollment for the 25-26 adopted budget and the updated unduplicated pupil percentage for 25-26 adopted budget. So the district gets funded with two types of money, unrestricted and restricted. And when you view the budget reports, as you're very familiar with, you always see the fund reports divided this way. Unrestricted, which we have here, we're looking at unrestricted revenues, and they can generally be used for any purpose, for educational purposes, where restricted funds, which we'll look at in a minute, can only be used for a very specific purpose outlined in law. So this is what you saw back in the September board meeting, and we're just bringing back the revenues to talk a little more about the increases and what they mean. So you saw this slide, and this is our unrestricted revenues, which are broken down into our local control funding formula, which, as you can see, is the majority of how we get our revenue from the state. There are no federal revenues in unrestricted because all our federal revenues come with specific purposes outlined in law by the federal government. Other state we do get, such as lottery, and other local, which I will share with you in the next slide. So our revenues for the 24-25 fiscal year, from when we estimated them to when they actually closed in September, changed. They went up by $544,000, and they went up and down based on what component of the revenues. So the LCFF revenue was reduced by $616,000 because we get certified at the end of June for our average daily attendance. And so what we estimated it would be was reduced. So that's the amount that came in on June 30th in our books. Other state revenue is usually, it's lottery, it's some state special education funding. And there was an increase in fourth quarter lottery by 146,901. And every quarter, the California Department of Education updates lottery because they make an estimate before the new fiscal year of how much they're going to get. And then after a quarter, like 3 months of lottery sales, they know what they have. And so then they update the allocation quarterly for all the schools that get the money. So this is something you see on an ongoing basis. So the good news is they sold more lottery tickets and we got some more unrestricted revenue. Then all other local has to do with a variety of, which I'm going to share with you, of how we get in money that sits in what's our comes from the county or directly to the district. So vandalism reimbursement is we get a reimbursement through our insurance company. We have property and liability insurance. We have a lot of claims, things go on, and there was vandalism and we did get reimbursed over the course of the year. But we don't know that we get it until we actually get the check. So that's when we put it in the bank, so to speak, and it's recorded here. Medi-Cal revenue for special education, we get a small amount of money, but we got an additional $20,000 before we that came by June 30th, because you adopted the budget on June 18th. So you're looking at estimated for unaudited is final. And what Medi-Cal, unrestricted Medi-Cal is through the county, and we're in a reimbursement program run by the state. So there are certain special education costs for certain counseling services, for certain therapist services, that if we submit the billing, it's a complex process, but we get money back for that. But it comes in as all other local revenue. Interest, we have interest that we get every quarter, and we update it only as we get it. We don't necessarily book it until it's actually there, because the markets are volatile. We had $350,000 in countywide behavioral health initiative grant, CYBHI. It's a local grant from the county, from the state to the county, and we're setting it up this year. We're piloting it to also get Medi-Cal reimbursement for gen ed students that get counseling services. This is the short and long of, but anyway, it's a component of the unrestricted revenues, and this is where it sits. We also, every year in every district and in the state, we pay into STRS, and the county pays our STRS. Like we're on the county payroll. So every year at the end of the year, there's a true up of the end of the fiscal year of how much we paid out versus what the county may owe us back if we overpaid. And what we did is we took a look over the last 6 years, and we trued up the funds, and so we actually had an increase of $450,000, and really over 6 years we had overpaid, and now we're current. And miscellaneous is, again, it could be another kind of insurance, like we get insurance reimbursement for some things. Like we had a shade structure, I can't remember, last year at one of our schools that we replaced, and even though it was 10 years old, our property liability covered it, so it would come in under other local, that type of thing. So our total increase for the closing of the books was $544,000. So then we take a look at restricted revenues, which is, again, you see those same four categories. You have LCFF, you do have federal revenue. We always have, that's where it sits, other state and all other local. And this is the slide you saw in September. And we increased our restricted revenues by 2.77 million. So I have this new slide to sort of break it down in further detail to share how that works. So LCFF, we get restricted revenue. So our SELPA is where there's several, like, I think there's 13 districts or 15 districts in the county, and we all work together, and one district kind of is oversight of all our special education money. I'm not going to call it a pass-through. It's more like they control it, and we work with them very closely. But the allocation, an allocation means this is how much money we're giving you for the year. And again, similar to lottery, we are given a preliminary allocation from SELPA, and then there's actually a first apport 4 times. It's like, and it's not quarterly. It's as the state comes trues up their numbers as we get new special education student numbers, and then it sits through the SELPA. We're getting updated amounts of money. Now, the good news is it's generally a little more because right now, every budget year, they've like kept what they call the COLA increase with our special education allocation. But the thing is, we can't budget. We don't know. So like right now in October, I could look up and say our allocation, is like 3.5 million, and it may end up to go 3.6 million or 3.7. So we update it. So what a school district budget does is, like with that interim budgets, first interim, second interim, is we update the revenues along with the money we spend as expenditures. And that's what makes it really different is with school districts, we don't get the first number as this is what you get for the year. It changes through the state, which comes back to us. Federal money, it increased by 81,000, and it's the same thing. So Title I is intervention money. Title II is professional development for teachers. Title III is English language learner programs. And again, comes from the federal government, right? But we actually report quarterly to the federal government how much we've spent of our allocation, and then they give it to us as we spend it, and they also update the amount they're saying they give you. Other states, so lottery comes partly in an unrestricted versus restricted. And so on the restricted side, lottery also increased by 135,000, again, because we get updates, we get revenue updates quarterly, and then we're required to update the budget. So you'll normally see the ELOP, Expanded Learning Opportunity Program. That is generally going up because, again, so that's our after-school program. It's funded through the state. It's restricted. So we have, after school for TK through 6, right? Programs for students who qualify. It's free. The state gives us money to run it. And again, the state changes the amount throughout the year based on the number of students participating in the program for the year. Associated student body, every year there is a big change from when we, even from say when we brought you estimated actuals in June and then we closed the budget end of June. So it's $1.3 million, but it's the money from every school site where the ASB has their funds. And we don't budget it ahead. It's they raise money during the year and then they spend it during the year and then we balance it at the end of the year. And we are also bringing a resolution to the board that actually it's allowed to be removed from Fund 1 and put in its own fund. So it won't show we won't be reporting it this way because you say, well, why 1.3 million? How would you not know ahead that you had that? But it has to do with ASB is reconciled when we close the books at the end of the year. Local county redevelopment agency funds, so 285,000. Those are local county taxes that some school districts receive every year. And again, we estimate, and then we don't get the actuals until after we close the books, and then we go in and update it for the unaudited actuals. And then we also have a restricted Medi-Cal program. It has like a little bit different regulations, but it's the same concept. It's a special ed billing program. We bill through a consortium and we get a small amount of money back, but we want everything we can, to help our special education programs. Band boosters, this is just another example, but 61,000. So again, band boosters is a local budget, which, sits like we have, if you look at the line below, we have local library resources, art docent, parent donation accounts. So 61,000 we got in band boosters, and we did have an increase with those other areas like library, art docent, parent club of 155. So they went up because at the end of the year, all of a sudden everybody trues up those budgets that are donations throughout the year. So then it comes out to 2.77 million in revenues, which is a really big number. So if you look at the star, I think it's really important to remember that, the 2.77, these are restricted revenues, and they can only be used for a very specific purpose outlined in law, or they're restricted by the donor. And so it sits in our restricted revenue budget. It's part of our complete school district operating budget, but it's not, we don't use this part of it for our reserves. So when we talk about unrestricted reserve, how much we have to operate, this is a separate entity and then combined with unrestricted. And I also wanted to share that when the adopted budget went to the board on June 18th, we get a letter from the county saying we were, and it goes to the superintendent, and I think goes to the board president, and says, we approve your budget. And this year, which we've never had in that letter before, it also said it's approved with caution. So because we were right at 3%, as you know, for this year when it went to adopted budget in June. So I just wanted to bring that up as a reminder, and which is all the reasons you continue to hear, and we'll discuss, we discuss about where we are with our expenditures. Now we're going to move on to just updated district, unless you want me to stop and answer the question. Can I ask
a question about the, so with caution, that's because we have no board reserve anymore and we're at the required reserve, and they may not approve us if we overcalculate or undercalculate, depending on which side you look at.
Yes, I think that's a good way to say it, especially because we used to have that 1.25% reserve for the board approved extra, which was that they felt that was really a positive part of how they look at our financials. But the challenge now is that at 3%, it means if we spend too much, we go below 3%. So they're saying we're looking at this, but this is, you're at your minimum.
And the other question that I had was don't go back, but the 616,000 or whatever on the attendance. Now, is that a number that then we are, even if we grow, we will be limited in our attendance funding to the number that they've established in this review? Am I making sense?
Yeah, so I think you know what, why don't you hold on for just a second, because Diane's going to talk a little bit about attendance and enrollment when we come there, and that'll get to that. There was a piece about ADA, but I think that'll make it maybe a little clearer, and then we can answer if we go from there.
Thank you.
Sure.
All right, we're going to move on to now this fiscal year, the 25-26 budget. And so what I'm going to talk about is the district enrollment. And so I put a star under our base grant funding. This is how we get our state funding, the local control funding formula. And so the most of the money we get is based on our average daily attendance, which means how many students are in the seat every day. And it's based on our enrollment, and then it's the percentage. So if we have 10,000 students and we have 95% average daily attendance, you know, we're funded at 9,500 students. So I just wanted to share that. And then if you look at the fourth column where it says supplemental and concentration, we're then going to talk about our UPP, unduplicated pupil percentage, and it sits in a supplemental amount of money that we get. So district enrollment, we always talk about this, but Census Day for all schools in the state of California is the first Wednesday in October. So it's the single day snapshot of a district's total enrollment. So that is what the state uses to fund every district. Now for BUSD, Census Day was September 26th because we always have fall break. So it's our last day prior to the first day in October. So that's our census day and our enrollment. And then we also have, if you look in the middle, the UPP. So that supplemental funding, that extra tranche of money is based on a certain student population. That's English language learners, students of low income, and foster and homeless youth. So this is called UPP, and the supplemental funds that we get are targeted to support the UPP student programs and services. That's specifically what they're outlined for. So taking a look at enrollment first. So we come to the board in June with our adopted budget, and we estimated this year that the enrollment would be 10,227 on Census Day, because that's the mark the CDE uses. So that was on June 18th. So student enrollment, it says 1013 because that's when we turned it in to the state. It's not certified, but we are 10,154 students. So we are 73 students less than we anticipated in revenue. So that causes a decrease in revenue, in the base grant revenue. And we're estimating 400 to 450,000. And there is some good news in the sense that our TK went up. Even though enrollment overall went down, in grades, 1 through 3, 4 through 6, and 7 and 8, how we're funded, we get extra money for TKs, and TK went up. So it's not good. We are below what we anticipated. It could be, 450,000, but having the TK go up helped mitigate that amount, because it's not calculated, as I've shown you in the slide, it's by grade span. Then our unduplicated student count went up from adopted budget. So on June 18th, we thought we would meet the goal of 4,394. And these are estimates that are both based on history and current enrollment and what we see in our enrollment projections. And unduplicated, we can't estimate. We usually just base it on the previous year because you don't know how many students are going to qualify. But we did increase to 202 students more, again, based on Census Day data, and we expect to have an increase in that supplemental revenue that's targeted to those students of 60,000. So maybe I could answer your question, but I didn't hear it very well.
Well, I saw the 600, I'm sorry.
Yes.
The 616,000
Yes.
in that first
Yes.
slide, and I didn't know, first of all, is that a decreased funding? And I know with P1 and P2, sometimes they hold you to a certain number based on the date of that number through the rest of the year, even if your population grows.
Yes, you are right. Well, let me see if I understand. So first of all, the 616,000 that we got less of was part of the closing of the books. So of 24-25. So
Oh, I see.
So first of all, that's not affecting this budget because this budget is updated. So when we come to first interim, that change will be reflected
Gotcha.
in our estimated revenue.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's important to point out, though, right, is unlike about 75% of the rest of the districts in the state, is we're a growing district, which means that we grow throughout the school year. And so even though on this we came in below by about 73 students, my guess is by the end of the year, we'll probably have those students in our system. We're likely to fill with those students. The difference is any student that comes in after October break, we don't get paid for. So every
Yes.
student that comes in after October break, we educate for free.
Just out of curiosity, was there a lot so far?
Yeah, no, I haven't looked at the numbers, and I don't want to put Kirsten on the spot because I didn't know. Since we've come back to 17 students. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, so $16,000 a student.
Yeah.
Adds up.
And part of the TK is there's a requirement for how many students in TK.
So it's a 10-to-1 ratio. So it's 10 students to 1 adult, and that changed this year. That's why we added more TK aides. It used to be 12 students to 1 adult. So our TKs are 24 in size, and we used to have like 1 aide and 1 certificated teacher. Well, now we've added aides in all those classes, at least, well, not full time, but on a partial basis to cover that. Yeah, that changed. So that's why the state increased the amount they're giving to us for TK. Yeah.
You want to finish your last slide,
Thanks.
where
Yes.
we are today?
Yeah, so as you know, the county has said they approve our budget with caution, and our district financial situation, it is a major concern, and reserves are very low. As you may read or hear on the news, there's still an unprecedented amount of economic uncertainty affecting our economy, both in the state and in the federal federal budget. So that affects education funding. The state structural budget deficits are big through 28, 29. And obviously the federal budget, it's highly uncertain what we're going to be getting in the next, not this fiscal year, but in the next fiscal year. And so the district continues to monitor the budget very closely. And, we're all here for the same reason, for our students and to support our students and our educational programs. So that's always at the forefront of our thinking. So in the next steps, you will get the first interim at December 10th board meeting. That runs for fiscal through October 31st. So the things we're going to be looking at, the main focus is always updated enrollment, but it'll also be attendance projections because we'll have had a lot more school days to know what our average daily attendance looks like. Obviously what happens at first interim is we've hired all our staff because an adopted budget that came in June, we hadn't done a lot of our hiring. We knew we had new positions, but we hadn't filled them. Also, a lot of students became, say qualified for certain special ed services. We may have hired for that. So we've updated all of that. We've had 3 months of salary and benefit costs. And then what we're doing is a very meticulous analysis of all our budget expenditures, particularly in salaries and then attached benefits. But in every single area, we're spending even more time and a more close look and more people looking at how the money is being spent. Is this, and we're taking a look at that as we go through. So we'll be bringing all this back at first interim. So, yeah.
I have a question. Actually, a couple questions. First off, thanks for all your information on, thanks for your analysis there and everything you presented here. But I like all the rest of the board members, I look at this stuff, and so my questions are more along the line of what's this mean for us type of questions. And so what I was looking at was your 3-year projections. So I was noticing that in those 3-year projections, one of them has us coming in at an ending balance like just under $19 million. And the other one's like $1 million less. This is on the second projection, that the two that you laid out for us. And on the first one, we would come in with something like a reserve of something like 4% at the end of the year. And the other one, and then that would give us we could look down the line next year, 4%, next year, 4%. But on the other one, we come in, 3.62%. But the following 2 years would be in the twos, which would be under our required reserve. So then I looked and I say, maybe that probably has something to do with this approve with caution that's coming from the County Office of Education, I guess. I know you can explain that. But the two questions I have are, what would it mean for us if we come in with an end-of-year reserve along the lines of that second projection? What would it mean for us as a district and our programs and what we do here? And then the second is, and you talked a little bit about it, but what are our early indicators that tells us which way we're trending toward that first projection or the second projection?
Let me try and answer that in the order.
Okay.
So at adopted budget, we did have 3%. So the budgets you certify are what go to the county. The monthly budget updated until first interim are estimates. So at adopted budget, we had 3% in each area. But we also showed we were going to get to it by cutting $2 million in 26-27 and 27-28, and we took money from Fund 17. So that is when they say we approve this with caution, and it's the right thing to say, because that's a lot of cuts, and that's without more expenditures. So we are approved. We are approved. If we were below 3% when they adopt it or when the county certifies it, it would become what's called a qualified, which means you are in serious financial condition, and that you need to do something immediately, and the county will work with you, but you need to get out of that qualified status. Now, a district that goes beyond that, it's called negative, where they can't meet their financial conditions, it can be taken over after that. But I think what I want to say is, though, really, so we were 3%, then we did the 45-day revise, and that showed us the money we took in. So when you see those 2.38, I know exactly what you're talking about. Those are not actuals, they're estimates. So what we did is we said we're going to give Fund 17 their money back, and we're not going to cut $2 million each year. So that was a projection for the board to look at and say, we are going to have to make some cuts, and we don't know how much to meet 3%, but that's just that's not an adopted budget. They're all projections, and I can make sure that moving forward, when I present each month and I show an updated multi-year, that we're really clear on this is what we're looking at. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does.
What do other districts use as cuts when they're projecting cuts? What kinds of things are typically cut?
Well, 89% of our unrestricted budget is salaries and benefits. So you can say, I can go through my expenditures. So in our unrestricted side, we have $1 million we spend a year in expenditures. And we have $10 million that we spend in contracts. And then we have $89 million we spend in people. So you do everything. So for example, I was thinking about that, and so for example, if you're going to have to make cuts, well, this is what we're doing right now, though, is I'm going to go through that $1 million and make sure I'm not over budgeted, or is there some things like maybe new laptops for staff. That's, budgeted. Well, maybe we won't spend all that this year. Like we're already just kind of saying, I'm going to look at this. I'm going to look at, we need a new lawnmower, $14,000. And we really need it because one's usually in the shop. We have two, but maybe we don't buy it because we just have to go with one. So you start taking a look at those type of hard costs. But really you also look at salaries and benefits and you make sure it's all set up correctly. You might take a look at who's on maternity. And anyway, I'll let Dana talk.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good question. I think that as Diane's trying to share, I think what people try to do is we try to go to things that aren't people, right? So we try to go to lawnmowers and reduce paper and reduce computers because we see those as further away from kids, right? But ultimately, the average district in the state spends between 83 and 85% of their general fund on people, and we spend nearly 90%. And so that means almost every dollar that we spend is serving a kid. And even those contracts that we have, most of them are people that we couldn't hire. They're speech and language pathologists, right, that we couldn't hire for a position. They're the people that come by. So there's no way to achieve that level of cuts without cutting people in programs, right, that go forward. And so I think part of, you asked a question about what happens if we go below a 3% reserve. We're not allowed to go below a 3% reserve without somebody coming and taking your authority, right, for doing that. And so our responsibility is to make sure that we don't get there. So, but we want to make sure that, what Diane's saying about going through and being meticulous, right? We're going through and scrubbing everything because we want to make sure if we have to come out and cut, which is what we think we're going to have to do, that we cut the right amount, because everything that we take away is something that we need. We don't have extras in our schools. We have less than what we need because we're one of the lowest funded districts in the state, right? And so we struggle through that as a result.
Yeah, that's the reason I asked the question, because we look at the data all the time, but there's a good degree of seriousness that's related to this report. Yeah, so thank you for that. Appreciate it.
No, absolutely.
Diane, I just got a real quick question on your slide 5, which you said excess STRS reimbursement, 6-year balance cleared. And you say we pay the county just like the payroll money and stuff to distribute that. Does that mean we were overpaying them for 6 years and they just figured it out and gave us $450,000? No, okay. So I don't understand it.
Know what it is? Oh, well, so we get this money back every year, and 6 years ago we were getting about $10,000 a year, and the account wasn't being put back in the general fund. It was sitting in this payroll account. And then the next year we got $50,000. The next year we got $100,000. And the county had given us instructions on how to do it, and the instructions did not include to move it back. Now that doesn't mean maybe we should have known that, but we weren't moving it back. So it was sort of like, and then last year it was like 150,000. So it totaled 450,000. Now an example is we think this year we're going to get back about 175,000. They're already saying, but it's going to go right back where it belongs. So that's the reason.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
So does the county keep that interest on that money for 6 years?
I don't think so, but I could find out.
Good, thank you.
That was an information item. 10.3 is the approval of the 25-26 collective bargaining session.
So before we get started here, we have somebody new at the table that I want to welcome. We're thrilled to have Carrie Wells with us as our new Assistant Superintendent of HR. And so She's doing a great job already, and we couldn't be more thrilled with her. And so we decided to give her a couple of items for the agenda today.
He does talk.
Yes, well, thank you, board and Superintendent Dr. Eaton. I am extremely thrilled to have been given the opportunity to serve the board and the students and the staff and the community of Brentwood Union School District. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. So this action item 10.3 is in preparation for upcoming negotiations. It's in accordance with Government Code Section 3547 and requirement. This is California School Employees Association, CSEA Chapter 895, publicly presenting its initial proposal to the Brentwood Union School District for the 25-26 negotiation cycle. This is a reopener contract, so the entire contract is not open. So CSEA is proposing the following articles for negotiation. Article 4, association rights. Article 7, pay and allowances. Article 8, health and welfare benefits. And Article 12, leaves.
And this is an action item.
If nobody has anything to add, I move that we approve item 10.3, the collective bargaining sunshine with CSEA.
I'll second.
Item 10.3 has been moved and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes 5-0. Thank you. Item 10.4 is approval of the 25-26 collective bargaining sunshine.
Yes, so again, in preparation for negotiations under the government code, this is the district's public presented initial proposal to CSEA Chapter 895 for the bargaining cycle 25-26 school year. In addition to negotiating pay and allowances, health and welfare benefits, the district is also proposing negotiations for Article 11, transfers and promotion, and Article 12, leaves.
I move we approve item 10.4, the 25-26 collective bargaining sunshine.
Second.
Moved and seconded. We approved 10.4. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It passes 5-0. Item 10.5 is the approval of Resolution 2025-19.
Yes, this resolution is to establish an associate student body special reserve fund. And you have, the districts can also take their ASB funds and have a separate fund, Fund 08. It's recommended by the CDE. So we're doing this resolution. So moving forward, it'll just be its own Fund 8. It's reported separately.
Real quick question on that. I saw in the budget update that amount totaled about 1.3 million last year, and that's spread across all the schools. Do all of those funds get used every year, or is there any carryover, and how is that treated if there is?
That's a good question. They are not all used every year. And a lot of times, no, they're not. And then we carry them over because that's what works. Also, they don't always set up their budgets so that they know. It's more like we know we have this much and we spend as we go along, and if we don't need it all, we use it in the following year.
And then that's accounted by school site.
So they're each have it's all accounted for in separate budgets with separate codes identified by school site. It's not mixed, no.
So I'm assuming that we never had a specific fund that's called
Fund
Associate
08.
Student Body, correct?
Yeah, so it's something that's been established about 5 years ago through the Government Accounting Standards Board, GASB, as an option for school districts. And so it's recommended that we do this.
And this is our first year, if it's a.
So if you approve it, when we come to first interim, we're going to already move it into, it'll be out of the revenue and expenditures.
Thanks. Any other questions?
Any other motion?
Move that we approve item 10.5, resolution 2025-19.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. We approve item 10.5. Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item 10.6 is the approval of resolution 2025-20.
Yes. The board has passed this resolution in the past. The Contra Costa County Tax Collector's Office has asked us to update our resolution. And what it is, it authorizes the investment of monies in, it's called the Local Agency Investment Fund. So the county does this for us, but it's called the LAIF. So when we have extra money, sitting in reserve, it goes into either just the county treasury or they move it into the LAIF. So this allows this to continue. It's been something we've done for, a very long time.
And on that LAIF, is the return satisfactory, or do we have to be part of the LAIF, or?
Good
Pretty
question. So, well, no, but the return is higher, and actually right now it's 4.34%. We have 9.3 million in it. Otherwise, it's getting almost nothing. But we as a school district, we cannot just invest our money anywhere.
Okay.
I think, that's no.
No crypto.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's an action item. You're going to
We
motion.
make somebody else take it.
10.6.
I move that we approve item 10.6, resolution 2025-20.
Forgot where I was at. I'll second.
Item 10.6 has been moved and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item 10.7 is approval of the oversight committee members. Do we have any of those?
Well, we have former member Carolina Villaseca's here. So hi, Carolina. We appreciated your time serving on that. But we have 3 new recommended members that have gone through the process that was established by the board and established by law. As a reminder, this is an independent oversight committee that makes sure that the school district is expending the proceeds from the 2016 Measure B in accordance with law. And so based on our process, we're recommending Olamide Ejala Inyang, Brian Scott, and Michelle West to the Citizens Oversight Committee.
And these are all new people. They've never been on it.
No, Brian and Michelle have both been on in the past, so they're allowed to serve 3 terms total according to the bylaws.
Thank you.
Okay, I move we approve item 10.7, the approval of the members to the Oversight Committee.
I'll second.
Item 10.7 has been moved and seconded. Those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Passes 5-0. Item 10.8 is the approval of the updated certificate of signatures. This is something we do every year.
Move that we approve item 10.8, the updated certificate of signatures.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. We approve the updated certificate of signatures, item 10.8. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Item 10.9 is an information. It's the first reading of the board policy and administrative regulations.
And this is a legally required update in both board policy and administrative regulation around sexual health and HIV/AIDS prevention instruction. And so there's a summary that's there for you. If there aren't any questions, it'll come back for an action item and a vote at the next meeting.
Are there any board comments or requests? And the,
I do.
yes,
Coast to
please, I'm
coast.
sorry.
Can we put that on the next consent? The
Sure,
coast to coast.
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll follow up with an email.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
The coast to coast federal lobbying,
CSBA.
the federal lobbying event. So we'll send out the information to everybody.
And there's an announcement at the end of this of our next board meeting, which is November 5th at 6, and it's at 4:30. So
Yeah, I apologize for the error. So it's a special board meeting, which will be on November 5th at 4:30. And then the following week, we will have our regular board meeting on November 12th at 6 p.m.
motion to close the meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded, we close. Thank you all. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Yay. Yay.